All right, hey guys, I am going to show you how to work in Photopea. So first of all, you're going to want to go to photopea.com. To create a new spread, you're going to go to File, New, rename your spread so it says Reflection Spread, and then keep in mind some of the specs. So work in inches. It'll give you other measurements, but we want to work in inches. The height of a piece of paper is 11 inches. A normal piece of paper is 8.5 inches in width, but because yours is a spread, which is 2 pages, it should be 17 inches altogether. The background is just going to be white. My DPI, it might give you a 72. I'm going to want a 300 to make sure it's high quality. And then we're going to hit Create. So as you can see, this looks a little bit different than an InDesign spread. It's not going to give you some of the margins or some of the bleed lines that you might see in InDesign. Keep in mind, Photopea is not perfect in any way. It's just something to use as a solution right now, okay? So some of the tools in Photopea. This would be your selection tool right here. This would be a marquee tool. It will remove your background. So if I show you this, and then I hit delete, it's actually going to make it kind of like you would in Photoshop. It can delete a background. So I'm just going to do Command Z. This is a lasso tool, crop tool, eyedropper tool. This is a heel selection, so a spot tool. Brush tool, kind of like you would have in Illustrator. Clone stamp tool, so you could create multiple eyes. An eraser tool, gradient tool. You've got your, I believe this is your blur and dodge tool. Here is where you're probably going to use most things, a text tool and a rectangle tool, and also a pen tool as well. So for example, let's just start with a rectangle. To create a basic rectangle, just draw it out in your spread. If you want to change the color, you're going to click on Fill and double click on the color and go ahead and change it to something else and hit OK. Let's work with fonts next. So if we click on this, it is going to give us a font. So we're just going to have to click and drag to create a text box. I'm going to type in the word hello. And you can see that it's going to give me that in some kind of font, right? So what you can do in Photopea is actually load fonts in here. You don't have to use the fonts that they give you. So to load a font, you've done this before in InDesign, so you should know how to do it if you are working in InDesign. With this, you're going to have to download it from some site, and then you're going to have to find a font that you would want to use. So, excuse me. This is a font that I want to use. It's called Magazine. Your font files can be a TTF or an OTF. This is a TTF. So I'm just going to hit open. It's going to say it's loaded. So now this is highlighted right here. I'm just going to look for this font. It's right there. And boom, we fixed that. Awesome. So you can go ahead and download different kind of fonts in here for you to use. I also created another reflection spread earlier. I had downloaded this font, which was Chapaza, so you can go ahead and download tons of different fonts in here and work with them, which I think is a kind of a cool thing that they allow you to do. So if you take a look on the right here, it definitely has this layers panel that you would see in Photoshop. If you do use a layers panel in InDesign, good for you. I definitely don't use it that much, just didn't really grow up using it too much, but if you do, that's awesome. I'm just going to create a new layer, and now I am going to input a photo. It's very different from InDesign and Photoshop, so we're just going to have to work with it as best we can. It will be File, Open, and Place, and then I'm just going to find a photo that I want to use. I like this one of the outdoors, so we're going to do that. It says it's loading. And that's because this photo is pretty big. Now, if you want to change the proportions of it, you're going to want to hold down the Shift button and then make it bigger and smaller. But if you don't hold down the Shift button, then it's going to be not proportionate, and it's going to make your photo look really weird. Okay? You can always do Command Z to go back. All right, so those are some of the basics of how you would work in Photopea. Now I want to show you the things that might trip you up a little bit and you really need to watch out for. So you cannot exactly save files in here the way you normally would. The best way is to export as a JPEG, okay? So I'm going to click that. I'm going to hit save. And it's telling me blocked, which is interesting. I'm going to try this again. So clicking on here, file, export as a PNG. Let's try that. I'm going to hit save. It's going to tell me blocked again. So I have been able to save this spread for some reason as a JPEG. I'll show you what happens when it does that. Just hit save. And yeah, it's giving me a download. It'll download as all files. And when you download it and hit save, you can open it up and it's going to look something like this. So you can make it as a spread. So I'm not really sure why it's not allowing me to download this as a JPEG. I'm not really sure about it. I'm just going to select all of my layers and see if it will let me do it now. I might bring down the quality a little bit. Maybe that's the issue. I'm not sure. Let's see here. It's also running a bit slow. Okay, it may not work. And it's a bit too slow for me right now because we need to move on. Okay, so if it's locking up on you or stopping, maybe just come back to it in a couple minutes and see what's going on. Let's see what it says here. Okay, so now it is letting me download as a JPEG. I think it was just being slow earlier, but that's good. I'm going to hit save, click on it. And as you can see, it downloaded as a spread and a pretty high quality photo as well. So that's good. Now, here's the thing where Photopea can be a real Grinch, okay, is if you go into File and you export PNG, JPEG, whatever works for you, it might tell you the file size is too big, that you have too much text. So even though you want to do all of this really cool stuff in InDesign. I have tons of different InDesign spreads I've been working on and doing tons of different things with them. It may not let you because you have too much going on. So if that happens, the best way to submit it to me is just take a screenshot of it. So to take a screenshot on a Mac, you need to hit Command Shift and 4 all at the same time. And it's going to give you this little kind of bullseye right there, and you're just going to drag this across the entire spread like that, and as you can see, it took a picture and it's saved on my desktop. Okay, if you have a Chromebook or a PC, it might be a little bit different, so you're going to have to look up how to take a screenshot, but submit your spread that way. You also have the option of creating a website and then just putting a page on the website where your reflection spread can be. For example, this is the Stetson yearbook site. I just made this for recruiting purposes. It definitely needs a little bit more work, but for now it kind of works. This is just a little bit about us, our leadership from this past year, accolades, and I have a whole lot of time to create this whole thing. But anyways, we have a little contact form at the bottom, ways to purchase the book, right? So the website does have some stuff on it. If you feel like Photopea is going to be too much work and you don't have Adobe, I highly recommend creating your reflection spread on a web page. You still need to have all the required things: a main story, your alt copy, and your 5 photos with captions. But if you want to make it on a website, that is totally fine. So you have some different options on how you want to create and submit your final spread. So that's about it. I would just say play around with Photopea. If you have questions, again, contact me about it. But like I said, it's not the best program ever, but it is at least something that you can work with if you do not have Adobe. Okay. Thanks for listening. Hope it helps.